Alrighty, it is 1900, and I just noticed that there was one error here. There we go. Now it is correct. Hey, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody, wherever you are at in the world. Welcome to our Medical Service Corps in-service procurement program series, where we're bringing to you Mustangs and non-Mustangs, MSC officers or aspiring MSC individuals as well into this video series. So far, we've produced about almost like 10 videos. We've had a lot of interviews from different people, COs, XOs, also board members. But I've been getting a lot of questions in the direct messages about the training pipeline. And tonight, that's what we're going to focus on. So we have a representative from both the Baylor side and the USUHS side of the house. So I'll let them quickly introduce themselves, and then we're going to dive into how did they go through in applying for the program. What do they think that made their application successful? And then afterwards, we'll switch gears and talk about their experience actually while going through students. Both of them are actually in the program as we speak. Kind of talk to you about if you do get accepted, or is this something that you are trying to look forward to? Then they can speak on their experiences as well. And as always, since this is a live session, we'll go ahead and switch gears lastly to a question and answer. And if you want to, there's a link in the description on Facebook. I posted it multiple times as well. It's also in our comments. If you want your picture and your comment to show up, just click on that link and we'll make it pop out here so everybody can see the questions you're asking for. So without further ado, I'll let my guests introduce themselves, starting with Ensign Gonzalez.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Ensign Lazarus Gonzalez, and look forward to hearing what questions you all have and sharing my experience and my journey with you all.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Ensign Sterling.
Hi, good. Well, for me, afternoon, everyone. I am Ensign Antoinette Sterling. I am a second year student at Uniformed Services University, or USU or USUHS. Depends on who you talk to. You might hear it 30 different ways. But happy to be here and hope we can answer, a lot of you guys' questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ensign Sterling, Ensign Gonzalez. Thank you so much to Ensign Gonzalez, who is braving the Texas storm right now. Very unprecedented. So I know power is a little iffy right now. Both of them too are hiding somewhere from their kiddos. So we do appreciate the time that you're setting aside to talk about your experience on here. So I do apologize if there's some lag too on the feed. Sometimes when the internet is a little slow, that can tend to happen. But the audio is pretty clear from both ends. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments as well. So without further ado, we'll start with Ensign Gonzalez. He's going to talk to you about his journey and applying for the MSC IPP program and what led him to this path of training. So, sir, I'll pass the mic to you.
All right, thank you so much. First and foremost, Lieutenant Brave, thank you for taking the lead on this. If something like this existed, 5 years ago or 6 years ago now, when I started to apply to this program, it would have been a huge benefit. So this is gonna pay dividends for all the future applicants so immensely. You don't even know how much value it brings to the table. So a little bit about myself. I had about 15 years of active duty time in the Marine Corps, and I guess you could say I was going through a midlife crisis or something, and I just wasn't getting out of my Marine Corps career what I wanted to. So I was planning on getting out and going to UC Irvine. At the time, I was living in San Clemente, stationed in Camp Pendleton, California, and I was going to go to UCI and get my MHA and just go get a job, working at one of the local hospital systems there. And in looking at my different options for school, I came across this program, and I thought, hey, I don't have to get rid of, waste all of my active duty time. I can do something that I think I'm going to, thoroughly love and enjoy, and I can apply that active duty time towards my retirement. So I started applying for the program. First time was in 2015. Applied in 2015. I didn't get accepted, but a Lieutenant Commander Love, who was the loggy down at Camp Pendleton at the time at the hospital, said that he would take me under his wing. He did a thorough review of the package that I had submitted that year, laughed at it, and said that I was nowhere near the mark when it came to my package, but my qualifications were there, and he took me under his wing and he helped me out. And we applied the second year, and he was so sure that I was going to get selected, and I didn't get selected. And he was thoroughly bummed out. I was a little bummed out as well, but you just got to keep at it, right? And you can't give up. You've got to be resilient. Third year, I got selected as an alternate, so that was 2018, and my number didn't come up that year. I didn't get selected, or I didn't get pulled off the alternate list. And at that point, everyone had said, man, you got selected as an alternate. Next year, it's your year. Like you're set. And I just took it for granted and basically submitted, for the most part, the same package with significant tweaks with regard to letters of recommendation and whatnot. And the fourth year rolls around, and I'm not on the list at all, not even as an alternate. Again, pretty bummed out. Fifth year, got selected as an alternate, picked up right off the alternate list, and here I am, almost a year into the didactic year of Baylor. So anyway, that's a little bit of my journey. There's a whole lot more to it, but you guys don't want to hear all that right now. Feel free to ask questions though if you want, and that's my journey in the condensed version.
Awesome. I love your story, Ensign Gonzalez. It just one thing that I picked from that is, well, two things actually. Prior Marine, so that's we have a couple of Marines in the MSC IPP group. So this is, I'm basically broadcasting for you now. Hit him up for those Marines that are messaging me. I'm like, there are Marines, Mustangs in the community as well. So thank you for that, and also determination. First, second, third, fourth, and finally here you are. So very inspiring story. So thank you for sharing that so much, Ensign Gonzalez. All right. And now I'm going to turn it into Ensign Sterling, who's going to talk about her experience and how she got to where she's at.
Thanks, Aaron. It's actually kind of funny because my situation was a lot different than Ensign Gonzalez. So I was a prior IT1. Been in at that time a little shy of 9 years. It's probably like 8.5 at the time. And prior to me actually applying for MSC IPP, I actually wanted to do nursing. I applied for MESIP, I think two times, I think in 2012 and again in 2015. And it was kind of a long jump between, changing duty stations and just overall life and things that just kind of got in the way. So finally, when I was stationed in Guam from 13 through 16, I had, mentors who were just like, I don't even know why you're even wasting your time on MESIP. You just need to come over here to the MSC IPP side and be a healthcare administrator, blah, blah, blah. And at first I was just kind of like, okay, I'll think about it. And just so happened while I was in Guam, I ended up getting a master's in health informatics. At that point, it all just kind of made sense between me actually falling into the IT side, in addition to now me having this healthcare administration-esque piece on top of it. So I kind of pondered on it for a while. I'm like, I know I want to, make this a full 20-year career. Like, do I want to, keep applying for nursing and, go that route, or, do I want to look at something else? Well, it just so happened while I was in Guam, I remember very vividly. I had duty one day and I had to walk in the morgue. And, I'm not really a fan of dead bodies, but, it's something that eventually, we might have to deal with. But just so happened I walked in the morgue and I was checking the reefers. And when I turned around, it was a casket looking at me. And I think that was the moment where I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this nursing piece. So in 2017, after I had my son, I came back from maternity leave and I was like, okay, I'm going to apply for MSC IPP and see how this goes. Well, since I'd already had the experience applying for MSC, they pretty much run through the same program, the exact same application, so I had already kind of had 2 applications underneath my belt. But I knew I had to really work for trying to get this healthcare administration piece. So, I had my experience in Guam, but then I still had, good points of contact and just, good overall, just mentors who, really helped me and pushed me, in this application process. So, sent my application off. This was September. Well, the application was due September 1st of 2018, and I got selected that exact same year. So technically speaking, that was my first MSc IPP application, and I got selected the first time around, but not my first officer application. So I guess I was one of the select few that was fortunate to only have to apply once. But again, like I said, even though I only applied to that program once, I did apply to others prior to that. And it's kind of funny because even though I already have a master's in health informatics, I was for sure thinking that they were just going to direct commission me. But at the time, I had the option to apply to both direct and training, and they selected me for training. So here I am now, fingers crossed, getting ready to graduate in June from USU with the second master's in healthcare administration and policy.
I love it. Another beautiful story. Non-corpsman rate, applied for the program. You had your goal set on one commissioning pathway, right? Because most people think, oh, most people that apply to this already know, which is true in most situations. 80% would be like, no, I knew MSA IPP since I joined the Navy. But your story is very interesting because you started with the MSA path, and then you're like, you know what, that dead body is not for me. So I love that. And then also you mentioned about you already had a master's, and most people get so frustrated with, I already have 2 master's degree. I'm not going to go through the training route, but it just shows your humility so much to like, you know what, the Navy's going to give me more things to learn. So this is another master's degree. It's one of the best schools in the country. So why not? So very inspiring.
And don't forget to mention free 99.
Free 99, yes, right? Who does not like free 99? So for those of you who have the same situation as this non-prior HM Mustang, already had a master's degree, still took on the training route, it is possible, right? There is that goal and desire to commission, and I love both of their stories. So I'm going to bring them both back on screen. Perfect. So now I want to ask both of you, and we'll start with Ensign Gonzalez here. Talk to us about your experience in Army Baylor. I know when I was applying through the program, it was something that was was like trying to apply for, but looking at the requirements, the GRE GMAT score was, I think, 310. I think it still is at this point. And just talk to us, like, once you got accepted, how is your life right now? And this is for you as well, Anquinette. How's your life as a student in this university? Is it just like a regular college life? Is it very, very military life? So let's talk about your experience first, Ensign Gonzalez.
Well, in the times of COVID, there's nothing normal about the experience right now at Baylor. We have been we've basically taken our classes through Zoom the entire year. We're coming up on the end of third semester and beginning fourth semester next Wednesday. And we were supposed to start in-person classes next semester, and that's not going to happen. Just for the simple fact that we do have students with family members that are very high risk, and just to mitigate all of that, we're going to continue being remote until we've all got the vaccine. They've actually pushed us up on the priority list because we are going to be in hospitals. Currently in a student status, we wouldn't have priority, but just because they know that we are going to hospitals, some in most in civilian residencies, and some of us in MTFs, small portion. But either way, we got bumped up with regard to priority on the vaccine for that. So, if you've gone to online school, it's a lot like that. Other than the fact that normally at your whatever University of Phoenix or whatever, you would log on, you would review some slides. Maybe they got a video for you. This is all live, so you have to be in class at 08, and you're there for 2 hours in a Zoom meeting. You got a 10-minute break in between. So they keep it very formal as much as they possibly can, utilizing Zoom to hold classes. And it's a lot better than the traditional online. If I've taken online classes because you actually have live interaction with other students, with the professors. So unfortunately, I can't really paint a picture of what to expect next year, because at that point it's all going to be in person. But I think the big takeaway is that if you come to Baylor and you do the dual program, the MBA MHA, it's going to be hectic the entire year. You're going to hit the ground running. You're going to stay running. If you only come for the MHA, luckily enough for me, I already have my MBA, and that's helped me out significantly with my with the classes that we're taking. At this point, next semester, I'll have 2 classes, which meet twice a week for 2 hours. So I'm very fortunate to say that I will have a lot of free time to spend with family and working on projects and things like that. But you hit the ground running, and it's basically like holding 2 full-time jobs your first semester. Second semester, and I'm speaking only for MHA. Second semester, it's like having a full-time job and a part-time job. And now I'm at the point where it's just a full-time job, and next semester it'll be like a part-time job. So it tapers off. So that's been my experience. We have a very it's a very small class this year. It's 23 students, where historically the numbers have been greater than 50. So with regard to camaraderie and whatnot, you really get to know everyone on a more personal level than you normally would if it was a larger class. Yeah, I was personally hoping for the direct commission route, and it got to the point where that wasn't the case anymore. And I kind of came here reluctantly. I really wanted the direct commissioning route, but there's a ton of stuff that you learn here, especially me coming over as a Marine in motor transport maintenance, which is the furthest thing from healthcare that you can possibly get. So just a bunch of valuable tools. You make a bunch of connections with people, and I've really come to embrace and appreciate the fact that I'm here. So I think that's about it.
Awesome. I did not know that you were a 3531 Motor T Marine. Like, we love our Motor Ts in Medical Battalion. You guys transport everything. So for those of you in Medical Battalion, this Motor T Marine.
Nope. I was a 3529.
Oh, 35. Is that mechanic?
Maintenance, yeah.
Maintenance. There we go. Okay. Close enough, right? Close enough. All right. And I guess one of my questions, it was just very interesting that you're going through this during the COVID route. Is there a specific, the focus of your classes, since you said that you're doing MHA, is the focus more towards military medicine, or is it just healthcare in general? Or do you find that Army Baylor focuses on a little bit of both because you are commissioning as a naval officer. What's the flavor like in terms of like what healthcare topics? Is it more focused on military or civilian? That's my question.
Okay, let's see if there's feedback. Nope. Okay. Um, so, that's a great question. I was actually surprised that the focus is on healthcare administration as a whole. It's not, for some reason, I assumed going through the Baylor, Army Baylor program that it would be military treatment facility centric, but it's not. I mean, we're covering, population health and all the policies that have been enacted in the United States that don't necessarily apply to the military treatment facility, and so there's I would say there's probably about 15% of the focus is on military, on an MTF, maybe even 10%. But other than that, I mean, we're talking about leadership things that transcend the military, that you can take into the civilian world, population health that you know does apply to an MTF and military, but is on a much broader scope. We're talking about the entire United States or globally. So yeah, it's not specific to the military, and I think that's why it's so great, is because it offers value to you while you're in, but also when you get out as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ensign Gonzalez. Now let's hear from, so we heard from Baylor's side. Now let's see what USUHS has to say in terms of Ensign Sterling's experience. How is it like, just like Ensign Gonzalez, how is student life for you?
All right. Well, actually, our situation is very similar to that of Army Baylor. So, since this is my second year, I was actually fortunate enough to do most of my first year in person. Um, it was a lot. I was actually surprised at just how much, I guess, work, for lack of better words, and how challenging or challenged, I was in this program. A lot of times you hear of like a military school and you kind of assume that, this is going to be like a typical, Navy training or, military training. And it's really not. This is like full-fledged college. Like, other than the fact that we wear uniform every day, that's pretty much it. So the first year, or let me take that back. Our first semester, we call it pre-fall. It was like a 6-week a 6-week term. We took 4 classes. The fall semester, we took 5. Winter, we took 6. Spring, we took 7. And then the summer class, I think we were back down to 3. So every semester we got more and more, more and more of a course load added on to us. And it was like literally no break. I mean, you got, holiday break for like, Christmas and New Year's. And then we did get a 1 week for spring break. But other than that, I mean, everything is like back to back to back to back. As soon as you finish one class or one semester on, could be a Thursday or a Friday, that very next Monday, you're starting another one. Just like with Baylor, USUHS is, our leadership is very Army centric. We do have, some, Navy instructors and a lot of civilians and that type of thing. But the CEO, XO, they're a lot of them are higher up on the Army side. So I wasn't quite sure how that was going to work, but I mean, they make it work. And same thing with the classes. I would probably agree. Ours is probably more like maybe 15-20% in regards to military centric, but they do definitely try to relate it more to just healthcare in general, and how, again, like how it can apply not only in the MHS but also in the civilian sector. Now, when COVID hit, Again, we too went to virtual learning. So I think when we first started, we were doing Adobe Connect. But since then, I think we've definitely moved into Zoom as well. So whenever we do have any type of meeting or something like that, particularly for our second years, then we do log into Zoom and connect that way. But I'm pretty sure the first years use Zoom more regularly than, of course, the second years do. I am currently in my residency year, and I am doing the residency at the NCR Market Office located in Walter Reed. So, my school life is a lot different than say it was in that first year when all you're doing is school, school, school. The second year is for me. My goal was just focused on exposure. That's kind of my keyword for this year, because my only experience in healthcare is at Naval Hospital Guam. Being not necessarily the command isn't Walter Reed, but because it's located in Walter Reed, I basically have Walter Reed at my disposal. So I've been very fortunate to be able to kind of bounce around to the different departments within Walter Reed and just the different aspects of healthcare administration, as well as, see how a lot of decisions are made from a higher headquarter point of view. So I've been fortunate in that regards. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. You got any other questions for me?
No, I think I like that you pointed out your experience in the residency as well. That's where you get the bang for your buck kind of thing. I think that just like any school, it's where they act when you're actually doing the hands-on training. That's where you're getting to learn that. And I think you posted something about the survey as well, for your project and stuff. So that's pretty cool to see as well. Seeing it on that big level NRC market with the DHA transitioning and everything. So those are both good experiences. I'm gonna bring both of them back on the screen, and we try to keep this at like 30 minutes. So now that you heard their experience, both of these ensigns who applied have valuable experience, have masters prior to applying, both non-corpsman rates. I'll open the floor now in the comment section to apply for any questions that the group may have, whoever is watching. Please feel free to type in the comments and I'll see them here. But while we're doing that, there's one here that says it doesn't have photo, but Aaron and family keep doing this. I love it. Represent. Thank you, whoever posted that comment. We try to give back to those aspiring MSCs as well. So that's why we tried to do this video series. It's 2021. Why not use social media for a positive way? This is why we Mustangs, a lot of the Mustangs are very interested in getting into this interview session just to give back as well and stuff. But while we're waiting for like some question and answers, both this is for both of you, and whoever can answer. How do you maintain connected? So you're both students right now. You're full-time students for USUHS and Baylor. How do you stay connected with the military life? Because you're focused on your studies. And also, how do you connect specifically with being an MSC? Or are you just focus on your studies?
So Aaron, you mentioned the other Marines that that have done the MSc IPP program. So some of them were my mentors before actually getting accepted. Now many of them serve as my mentors. Now as an ensign, and so we've got a group, a chat group on Messenger, where we're all on there, right? And it's ensign all the way through lieutenant commander. And so, we're constantly pinging information off of one another, right? Just recently, the commander sent, a naval officer toolkit link. We just kind of, discuss what's going on and just, keep us linked to the fleet where, I mean, what fleet is there out here in San Antonio, right? So, um, so that's how I keep connected. Different people do different things. For the Navy guys that were prior Navy, I mean, they just stay connected with everyone that they still know, right? But for us, I mean, that's how I do it.
Perfect. Thank you, Ensign Sterling.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same thing. For me, I honestly kind of look at me going to uses as, I mean, that's really my day-to-day job. So outside of the fact that I'm, either studying or, taking a class or, whatever the case might be, that is what I'm doing, from 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning until it's time to go home. So other than the fact that I'm physically going to school, I mean, like I said, that's my job. So I still have to be connected to the Navy in the sense of we still do CDBs. I mean, you still have to check your email multiple times a day, so that part doesn't really change, so to speak. It's just I look at it differently in the sense of my job description has kind of shifted just for this time frame. And same thing, I mean, we still, remain connected to, prior department heads, other MSCs. And it's so funny because I thought about it after I finished talking, but so like my class or my cohort rather, we only have 12 people in there in comparison to Army Baylor's 50 plus or now 23 for this particular year, but we only have 12. And then the first years that just started in July of last year, I think there's only 8 of them. So our cohort is a lot smaller. So we're, I would consider us much more of a tight knit group. And it's kind of interesting too. Like we have 3 Navy. I'm trying to make sure I say this right. 3 Navy. We had 2 prior Marines, and they were active duty sergeants, and they actually both just got, I guess, selected and crossed over from being a Marine. They're now technically in the Navy as first classes, waiting to commission after we graduate because they kind of found a loophole to the HSCP program. So they were fortunate in that regards. We have 2 civilians who are actually HSCPers. So for anybody who's watching who not only are looking at MSC IPP, but also looking at the HSCP program, USUHS has 2 spots yearly for HSCPers. So that's another way for you possibly to get school for free 99, just to plug that in there. And a lot of people don't know that. So once we graduate or closer to graduation, those HCPers will also commission as JGs. And then we have four Army, ranging from first lieutenant through now major. So we kind of have like a little plethora of ranks when it comes to on the Army side anyway. And then we actually have 1 Air Force person in my cohort, and he's a captain. So we kind of have a nice little diverse, even though it's only 12 of us. I mean, it's nice to kind of see how all the other branches kind of work. And even the different programs as far as how people even got to USUHS is completely different. So that's pretty much it.
And that's amazing too. I feel like you're really setting yourself up for the DHA world, which is the purple medicine, as we call it. So you're seeing the Army side already. You have prior Marines, your Navy, and you're getting a taste of Air Force as well. So it's nice to see those perspective in your cohort, although small. You have all those different flavors in there as well. And somebody posted about keeping in touch. Read the rudder. Yes, amen. That's how I keep up as well, right? We get busy with our day-to-day jobs. And this is the reason why I ask it as well for you students, for those of you that are also in the Baylor or about to go to the Baylor program, the IPAP, for the PAs or the USUHS program, being connected to the community is very, very important, because at the end of the day, it's this community that you're going to lean on. And I can tell you, speak from experience as a medical admin officer, as a Mayo, we stick together as Mayos because not everybody will know everything. And just like somebody from Baylor will probably need something from USUHS, and USUHS from, and all this like interweb of networking. And that's where I was trying to get at, is continue with the network process as well. Another question that I have is, This is very commonly asked when somebody's trying to apply for a training route. Do you think your application specifically was your GPA and your scores very competitive in your opinion? Was it very competitive? Or do you think it's a little bit of everything? Was it a mix of evals, fitness, and all that? Or what did your mentor say as you were applying for this program?
I'll start on that. I personally think it was a combination of everything. When you're talking GRE, so actually, I only scored like a 296 on my GRE before the writing portion, and that's not even included in the overall, final score. So at that point, I was like, well, okay, God, is anybody even gonna, accept me for having this 296? I'm gonna have to take the GRE again. Dang it. And I hate taking standardized tests. I despise it. But in reaching out, I found out, not only just contacting people at USUHS, but also, going through that 1420 and then the FAQ section. So USUHS accepts 290 and above. Army Baylor, though, they wouldn't even look at my application because I didn't score 300. So it was either take the test again, which I didn't feel like forking out no extra money, or, suck it up and see what happens. So, I went out on a limb and sucked it up and then to see what happened. So, again, I think I was just fortunate enough in the diversity of my application from not only having like that line side experience, but also being able to now say that I have this healthcare experience, although minimal, I still had that to, bring to it. And, again, back to that whole networking piece, I was able to, get in contact with some, very, what I would consider high level individuals. And, even though they like to tell me, oh, no, it was your application, you did it all and blah, blah, blah. I mean, those, letters of recommendation and, they see certain names and they're like, it does speak volume, So for me, like I said, I think it's a combination of everything overall. But I do also think that certain things, name dropping isn't such a bad thing either, at times. But that's just, my own personal experience on that.
It's funny you mentioned that. I always, every time somebody says that, I always refer them to when I interviewed Lieutenant Mo Taylor for the LOR segment. And he put it like as the frankest way possible. The MSC community is like a gang. It's who's vouching for you to allow you to enter our gang. So, Mo, hello. I'm mentioning you again, as always. You groomed this guy, so your name's going to be dropped all the time. But Ensign Gonzalez, how about you? What's your experience? Do you think it's more, is the same thing? Because I'm the same way. Army Baylor was like 280. No, don't even apply over here. It's like shoo. So what's your experience, Ensign Gonzalez?
The first 3 years that I applied, I was stationed at Camp Pendleton, and I then got orders to Quantico. So the last two applications that I submitted, I actually drove up to Bethesda and went up to the 16th floor and hand delivered my package to Mrs. Kemp. And she didn't have any type of golden nuggets like, hey, just do this and you'll get selected. Even if she did, I would expect her not to give those out, right? Because those are sacred. But really, I asked her those types of questions. Listen, ma'am, I've got a 310. Should I go back and take the test again so I can get a 330? She goes, no, you need a 300. You got the 300. And I would always return, well, but just to be more competitive. And that's not it at all. She, and she, she's got years and years of experience with this. She told me on more than one occasion, listen, Staff Sergeant, don't worry. You got the minimum score. Worry about the rest of the package. Those are basically just entry gates, right? Like, hey, I passed that gate, cool, check it off check it off, and it's done. Coming straight from Mrs. Kemp's mouth is, as long as you're meeting the minimum expectations, with regard to that GPA, so on and so forth. Really, it's the rest of your package that's going to speak on your behalf. Now, if we want to discuss the rest of the package, let me go get my Ouija board and my magic 8 ball, and then we can start discussing that because um, there's no silver bullet when we're talking about the board. 1 year they could be looking for one thing. Another year they could be looking for something completely different. Like I said, I was told, hey, as soon as you're picked up as an alternate, that's it. You're set. Next year you're getting selected. Trust but verify. So I went through and I looked at nav admins back to like 2012. And sure enough, I mean, I did see that trend. Alternates were getting selected the very next year. Now there were some times where alternates didn't, but you don't know whether they reapplied, or what the case may be. But I saw names, popping up the very next year, and that gave me a little bit of confidence, maybe too much confidence. That year, uh, I guess the only thing that I can really say is, I guess I felt good because I wasn't selected, but neither was any other Marine. So, uh, that could have been the year where they were like, listen, guys, this is a Navy program. We're not letting any Marines in. Like, it's just not going to happen. Again, if you look at it historically, I'm no conspiracy nut. If you look at historically, right, there's at least one Marine that gets selected on the board, whether it be a social worker or PA or whatever the case may be. So I kind of found solace in the fact that no Marine got selected that year. But again, right, break out the Ouija board, get your magic 8 ball, because I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to who they're selecting except the best qualified. So just check the boxes when it comes to GRE scores and whatnot, and just really try and structure your package around what you bring to the table, what makes you different and superior to the other applicants, and then cross your fingers. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, I think what you can do.
That's so. I mean, we all laugh, but it's actually true because it's funny mentioned going back to nav admins. I remember me and this other IT or ET1, we were like compiling like statistics and stuff like what rates, what rank. I don't even know where that Excel spreadsheet is because I was trying to see what are my chances of getting selected. Because you're right, most people will tell you one thing, but then it doesn't come to fruition. It's like, oh, you're sale of the year, like back to back to back, you're guaranteed. And then come to find out you weren't selected. And for you were an alternate. So you're right. I was under this impression that all alternates get selected next year. But what I got from all this as well, and I hope everybody got that too, in these answers, that the scores are like the entry gate, as Ensign Gonzalez said. It's just the minimum requirement. Don't forget the other aspects of your package, because yes, you may have a 320 or a 330 GRE, but if you're a P sailor, an MP sailor, don't be shocked that why you're not getting selected if your average RISCA is like always below the commanding officer, right? So always look at the overall application, and hopefully with the previous videos, you're getting that message as well. It's not just the letter of recommendation. It's not just the appraisal. And in this episode, it's not just the GRE and the transcripts. It's a part of it. It's an overall application of what you can do. Since we're getting close to our time, I just want to ask last few words from our guest speakers today, Ensign Sterling and Ensign Gonzalez. Words of advice to our aspiring MSCs, maybe going the direct route or the training route. What would you advise somebody if I'm that applicant? What would you tell me? Ensign Sterling, let's start with you.
Um, I would say, and actually I had to tell myself this. So like I said, I had applied to MSC twice before I, applied to this program. And I told myself, sorry, I hope y'all don't hear my dogs barking. I told myself that if I applied, I was going to make sure that I put forth the best application I possibly could, that I was not going to skim on anything, that I was going to, dot all my T's or cross all my T's and dot all my I's. And that's exactly what I did. I, didn't just have one person, look over my application. I probably had maybe too many people, to be completely honest with you, because of course, you have X amount of people, and then everyone's going to have different feedback, and then eventually you're going to kind of get tired of like, what else am I going to change? But ultimately, it's your package. You have to be happy with what you are submitting. Like I said, some people might not, think you should include something, or might not agree with maybe how you worded something, or whatever the case might be. But again, ultimately, it's your package. You have to be happy with what you submit, and you have to know in the back of your head that you did all you could to submit that package, and cross your fingers and pray for the best. And I mean, basically, that's honestly at that point all you can do. As long as you put your best foot forward, eventually your hard work will not go unnoticed. And I mean, I'm a strong believer everything happens for a reason. So, even if you're one of those people who have to apply 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, because I do know a lot of people who have done that, eventually people get, tired, and they're just like, oh my God, like how much more of this can I take? How much more of this am I gonna, put forward? Because putting forward these applications are not just something you can throw together in 2 months. Granted, I think I probably maybe met one person that I know of that did it and got selected. And I was like, how in the heck did you manage to pull this off? But everybody else, I'm like, this is like almost a year-long process. I mean, this is at least a good 9, 10 months, what I mean, of course, maybe not necessarily working on it every single day, but definitely, a few times a week, going back and, revising your personal statement, going back and looking at your application, making sure you're not missing anything. So don't take that part for granted. Definitely put in the work, and eventually you will reap the reward.
Thank you, Ensign Sterling. Ensign Gonzalez, closing words.
Yeah, so basically everything that you just heard about making the package yours and starting to work on it as soon as the message gets released, yeah, just times two. No truer words were spoken. At the end of the day, it's your package. So you're gonna show it to a bunch of different people, and then you show one piece of paper to 4 different people. You get 4 different opinions. At the end of the day, you've got to be able to sleep well at night with what you've submitted. But apart from that, what I would say, and I mean, especially coming from someone who wasn't an HM, hell, wasn't even a sailor before, right? Is get mentors, right? Go out there, start talking to people. It's hard if you aren't one of those outgoing personality types. Um, but as soon as you break the ice with one, right, that one person is going to go, you know what, I think you should talk to so and so, right, and your network begins to grow in that fashion. I can't tell you how invaluable those mentors were. And one of the things that I find the greatest about the medical service corps is, when you talk about mentorship and networking, and I mean, it's the epitome, where I thought Marine Corps leadership, when it came to mentorship, was, just fantastic. This is mentorship, but with some personality. So, if that's what you're looking for, this is definitely the place for you to be. Reach out and just ask questions, cold call people. I mean, just walk around the hospital and be like, hey, have you got a minute? Just, you know, this is who I am. This is what I'm looking to do. Just trying to find someone who can help guide me, and trust me, you're not going to be turned away, right? If they can't help you themselves, they will point you in the right direction. And please feel free. You've got me on Facebook here. Add me, ping me with questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you out. And I think the last thing I would say is, please don't expect when you're applying for the program to walk up to someone who has successfully gone through the process and been selected, and just take their package and put your name on it and change some personal information. um, do the work. I've got no problem handing over what it is that got me selected, but I'm going to make sure that you did the work first and foremost. So it's a it may sound harsh, but it's a little insulting if you're just going to expect that someone else's hard work is going to get handed over to you to set you up for success. So, at least show that you've put your best foot forward and that you've put together some effort. And then at that point, then go, would you mind if I kind of compared what I have to what what got you selected? And you'll get so much more respect in that way. So trust me, coming from the guy who did it the hard way, uh, it was a grind. So anyway, I'll leave it with that. And please, if you guys got questions, hit me up on Facebook. I will always make time to help someone out.
Awesome. Great parting words from both of these individuals. And yeah, we will have also, I'm glad you mentioned that, Ensign Gonzalez, because there's a lot of Mustangs that are dying to go over a networking 101 episode. So stand by for that. What's the proper way of networking? Is it just like, hey, I need a mentor. I'm in San Diego. Thanks. Bye. That's not the proper way, but there are good ways to market yourself. And we'll get over that because not a lot of people were taught that way, right? With the age of social media, we think that we could just, I don't know if poke is still a thing on Facebook, or I don't know what the terminologies are now, but with the ever evolving digital age, there's a proper way to still be professional and ask the proper way, so you can never lose that. So thank you so much for the two of you. I know your kids are like banging on your doors, and it's probably dinner time close to your guys', but thank you so much. I'm going to switch over to my screen. Have a good night, Ensign Gonzalez and Ensign Sterling. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good night.
Bye. All right. So for those of you that are still on there, thank you so much for tuning in for our episode. And I just want to put out some couple of comments. It says here it's not, I'm blocking my face, but whatever. Outstanding as always. Thank you for leading the way. Aside from the rudder, I recommend networking with other MSCs for opportunities such as LEAPS, Region Advisory Council, and ACHE. Yep, that is exactly correct. Another comment is overall picture scores are just metrics to help make a decision. That's true. We talked about that. I like this one. Lazarus Michael Gonzalez went training and he already had an MBA. So take your shot just because you didn't get accepted to the rec route. Then another here is if you don't have a lot of experience with packages, I would recommend starting before the nav admin comes out. Starting early helped me a lot. That is true. Don't wait for the nav admin. Start now. Or you should have started a couple months ago when we started this series, right? So make sure, or if you're trying to apply for next year, I have a lot of people messaging me, hey, I'm not applying till next year. Can you answer some of these questions? Here's what I've researched, right? So that's all we have for tonight. Hopefully all of you have learned a lot of valuable information. And also as a plug, in case my public affairs officer is watching, this video is not sponsored by the Department of Defense of the United States Navy or the Medical Service Corps. Every thoughts and opinions are brought to you by yours truly, Lieutenant Aaron Abreu, Ensign Sterling, and Ensign Gonzalez. Nobody has sponsored us. This is just our own time, and we just simply want to give back. So thank you so much. Tune in to more videos. We're close to 2,000 members in our Facebook group. So if you have mentees, if you have sailors or Marines that are interested in the MSC IPP program, have him join here. We try to post at least 2 live videos and recorded videos as well every month. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great night.